Dr. Alder, I just wanted to, you actually went right into the question I was going to ask at the time. You know, a lot of people, they crack their knuckles and they have that popping sound, and a lot of people don't know what that is. It's not really so much the bone moving as it is something else. And I want you to talk about that. And then, especially people who've been in impact sports, such as football, etc., they turn their head and they're constantly doing this. And I hear this, and they think, oh, I got some relief. And they think I put everything in place now, and I don't need to address that. When in all reality, there's two things. The sound is not what you're looking for. What causes that sound? And thirdly, I guess, is what is the long-term effect of repetitively doing that?
Yes.
And scar tissue. And the fact is that whether you're doing this and this and this repeatedly, or if you're taking a pill and now all of a sudden I don't have any pain anymore because I have NSAIDs, I've got Tylenol, I've got things. There's kind of a allergic almost reaction if you take so many drugs. It affects your organs. It affects your joints if you keep doing the other things. So why is those three things, if you can kind of hit on those, that would be helpful for the layman.
Yes. So when we crack a joint, whether it be your knuckles or your back, a theory is, and it seems a fairly well-established theory, but we're not 100% sure, but what seems to be happening is that when you're pulling a joint apart, it's creating a vacuum inside that joint. And the solution, the synovial fluid that's in that joint, has nitrogen in it. And when you pull hard enough and you get in a big enough vacuum, then that nitrogen will come out of solution and become a gas. That's going back to high school chemistry. Okay, solution, gas, pressure, temperature, all those things will change those kind of things. So if you can think of it basically as when you pull a joint apart, it creates a vacuum. That vacuum needs to be filled with something. There's a fluid in there that's got some nitrogen. It pulls that nitrogen out and makes nitrogen gas. Not in itself necessarily a bad thing. It depends on a couple of things, but that's not in itself a bad thing. What happens is when you pop your joint, it releases endorphins. Endorphins, if you get enough of them, gives you a natural high. That's why it's addictive. Okay, so it makes it feel better. It increases the flow of blood to the joint, and it's a little bit addictive. And the bigger the joint, the more addictive it is. So that's why people get stuck on that, and that's why they like going back to regular chiropractors over and over and getting adjusted. If it happens too much, the ligaments that are around the joint can become too loose. So doing it too often is problematic. Now you've got a joint that needs it more, it needs it more, it needs it more, or at least it feels like it, and it's unstable. When that happens in the spine, that's a bigger problem than when it happens in the fingers. If you're popping your fingers, let me just go into this real quick. If you're pulling the finger and it pops, that is slightly less damage than if you're grinding the joints together to get them to pop. Because now you're taking two soft ends of a stick that have cartilage on them, and you're grinding that cartilage together to get that pop. So that's an aside, basically. The neck has some other problems with it. When you pop the neck, so when you're popping a joint, you're taking a joint that's not moving properly, and the body is loosening it up. What that tells you is that there's something not balanced. It doesn't usually pop the joint that needs to be popped, and it doesn't usually pop the joint that needs to be popped into the right direction, even if it's getting the right joint. So it's just loosening up the joint. It doesn't get it unstuck. It's usually not even the right joint. So it just tells you there's an imbalance in the neck or in the spine that makes it feel like you need to keep popping it again. And if you keep popping it, it seems like most of my patients will tell me, then I felt like I had to pop it more. And then I felt like I had to pop it more. And then I had to pop it more. And then I had this big incident, and now I can't pop it at all. And I got a lot of pain and whatever. So there's that issue. We start getting loose ligaments. The spine is very important for many reasons. One of the most important reason is because it protects the spinal cord. So all the nerves, everything that controls your body goes up and down through the spine to your brain, to your body. and you start affecting that, you're going to get problems anywhere from your toes to your hair roots. The second problem with cracking your neck like this is it can actually cause a stroke. So there's a certain amount of the population that just the way the blood vessels are made, everybody's blood vessels in your body are kind of like fingerprints. We have the general organization, but when you start looking at individuals, you'll see all kinds of variation. And there is sometimes when you're popping the neck, you're rubbing up against the blood vessel. And if you do it and you keep doing it and you do it more and more, you can rub through that blood vessel and you can cause a stroke. So chiropractors are trained to look for those kind of danger signs when they're doing that, the rotary type of adjustment. Mm-hmm. Fortunately for me, I don't have to do that kind of an adjustment at all. We don't stress out the blood vessels at all. But that's the big danger of popping your neck like that. There was probably more questions there, and now I don't remember what they were, Anita.
Well, let me just kind of go on to where you're at as far as treatment of the neck, because there's a lot of self-care type things that are being advertised, where you can actually, like, you know, hang a
weight.
No, you can actually hang off of a doorknob. Yep. Put something under your chin and hang off of a doorknob or something, and they seem, you know, the ads are quite convincing.
Yeah.
The danger of doing that is
same thing. Number one, that is a valid therapeutic technique done with somebody who knows what they're doing,
right,
and has the imaging and knows what your particular problem is, where your blood vessels are, so to speak. That can be very useful. That being said, I've also seen it in the therapeutic setting being used wrong. What most people don't seem to understand is that we are made different on the right and on the left. And when you make an injury, when you injure your neck, it's not going to be balanced between the left and the right. So if you're pulling on the neck, the bones are going to misalign to the weak side. If there's a weakness in there and you're pulling it apart, it's going to fail at the weak points. If it's not symmetrical, then there's going to be some natural weak points in there. So those techniques need to really be overseen by somebody who knows what they're doing. So I've had a lot of people come in and say that really helped. Great, they got away with it. But it scares me to think of what they could do or what somebody else could do with the same thing.
So another thing is that many people were athletes and are current athletes. And many people, they have an understanding of themselves, of their body, but they don't know how they've compensated. And so they think, I'm in shape, I don't need chiropractic care. What is the feedback you're getting from people who have been athletes, who are runners, who are lifters, and they're out of balance, and how does that improve their cognitive, their neurological, and their bodily function and performance when they address something as small as that little tiny bone right there?
So that brings up so many stories. Let me think about what some of the best ones are. So when we think of athletic performance, we think of course, football players, wrestlers, bodybuilders, basketball, baseball, right? But if you think about it, what about a dart player? Somebody who throws darts in a pub. That's their thing. Or a bowler, right? There is so much coordination that goes on. So I've had, so I wouldn't call them athletes particularly, partly because that lifestyle doesn't tend towards the athletic body. But I've had athletes come in, and I've had people like that. And one of the most common things I've heard is, Doc, after you adjusted me, everything got worse. My game got worse. Whether it was golf, basketball, soccer, darts, bowling, the game got, and I just say, just hold on. Your body was used to all those activities in an imbalanced position. Now, you've got some benefit because you've got some wiring going on that only needs a little bit of tweaking, and soon your game is going to be better. And invariably, that's what happens. They start running faster. throwing harder, whatever their sport is, they start working better once the brain and the body are working better together. And there are chiropractors out there who work entirely just with golfers, because golfers will spend an insane amount of money just to improve their game. And that's not what we're not geared towards. That we don't analyze golf swings and things like that. But it's always a joy to have somebody come in, whether it's playing the piano or playing darts or playing soccer, and suddenly their athletic ability improves.
Can you speak for just a moment about the neurological transfer of energy through the body, from the brain, through that cerebral cortex, all the way through this, and by opening up that pathways, and when you're talking about reprogramming, the key to like 21 to 30 days, how the body will actually reprogram. For instance, I have monovision. I went and had LASIK done, so I have an up close eye and I have a distance eye. Mm-hmm. And my brain completely rewired, and there's things that you will adapt and do differently because of some of these rewirings. Right. A golfer does not change his swing overnight. A guy batting doesn't change his swing overnight, but it's something that you're going to retrain yourself for, and that neurological signaling, I guess that's a good word, resignaling. And response, resignal, response, how that takes place.
Yes. So one of the things that when chiropractic first started, there wasn't any scientific evidence for it, right? I mean, really, when we talk about scientific evidence, the evidence always comes after somebody discovers something, right? So waiting around for science to prove something before you do it is really the cart before the horse. One of the things that we found, one of the reasons why we found that this is so effective, is that the bones in the neck are actually attached to the spinal cord and the covering of the brain. So when one of those bones twists a little bit, it'll actually traction on the spinal cord on each side, stretch it out a little bit. It'll actually pull up into the dura inside the skull and cause a twist, and that will plug the hole in the bottom of the skull, not allowing the cerebral spinal fluid to flow. All that goes back to the neurology. The neurology needs the cerebral spinal fluid to flow. It needs it doesn't want traction of the weight of a dime. The weight of a dime on a nerve will cause it to completely stop functioning. So very light pressure will affect the flow of nerves going down through there. So once we release that, we allow the CSF to start flowing better, which is nourishing the brain cells, and then we take the pressure off the spinal cord. That's when things start to go. And this little part over here will affect the cerebellum on this side, and the cerebellum on this side will affect the hemisphere on this side, which then will talk to the hemisphere on this side. And so you can have these neurological weaknesses that you don't realize are coming from a neck problem, or if not coming from, not getting well because of a neck problem that is keeping these other parts of the brain from being stimulated. There was somewhere else I was going with that, and I got so excited I just forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I just want to bring this back to, if this is like overwhelming information, here's the whole thing. It's by taking care of your neck through this Blair technique. It's non-invasive, it's simple, each person is unique, but it's basically a portion, I believe, of total health care. And I think that's something that you go and get your teeth cleaned regularly, you have your checkups, you need to incorporate Blair Chiropractor into your total health care. And that can start as early as when?
Well, birth. I rarely have to adjust a newborn, but sometimes deliveries are difficult. I mean, they're always difficult for the mom. I assume they're always difficult for the baby, but sometimes they really stress the neck out, especially with modern birthing techniques where mom is on her back and the doc is pulling on the head. Even C-sections are tremendously stressful on the baby. Plus, there's other issues with that the other benefits they're not getting from a vaginal birth. but I will check infants as soon as they're born. Usually I don't have to do anything, which is going to bring up another point. Let me just say this too. You shouldn't need a chiropractor. If you need a chiropractor, that means something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I don't know why I got choked up about that, but
I have to
health,
say this.
health
Let
is
me just
normal.
let me help you out, Dr. Elder.
Ah,
Your passion is so evident. And when you have a gifting and a passion that you put together, and you can take somebody from the day that they come into this world to the day that they are promoted, and you can improve that dash, as we call the
Yeah.
living in the dash, you can improve that whole dash. Whatever that is, that is what we are doing here.
Yeah.
We just want to give people the tools, the education opportunity, and connecting people with the answers.
right.
That's it.
Exactly right. And so our goal is to not see people. We
Right.
want to check them. We want to fix them. We want to make sure it stays fixed. But the goal is not to have them come back once a week or once a month just to be manipulated again, just so they can feel good for another few days. We want them to be healthy. That's really my passion.
I really
but anyway.
appreciate you being here and sharing all this knowledge with us. I do see that we could actually go into testimonies, which we don't need to because they have a Facebook page. So that link will be there in the description box. So it'll be underneath this video, and you just click that arrow down and I'll have that Facebook link there for you. There's also a website that I'm going to share with you. Let me find it. BlairClinic.com. BlairClinic.com. So up in the top right-hand side, you will see contact. You can click on contact. And of course, it's going to be slow to load. So that's how you can contact Dr. Elder and also his wife. And you can fill out this form right here. I hear that there is a special that if you say that you saw the Blair or the Elders on TotallyT, that you actually get a discount. You might want to mention that in the message. So you can do that. That's how you contact. Let's go back over here. And I know that there's probably some doctors and other chiropractors that would love to reach out to Dr. Elder. And like I said, he is an instructor. Right here, go to Blair Chiropractic Society. You're actually the president of this society, aren't you, Dr. Elder?
Yeah, this is the society's been around since 1986. We've got chiropractors all over the world. And our goal as a society is to provide training, quality training, so that people can do this technique.
Okay. So for doctors, you could click here. And also, if you need to locate a doctor, if you're in the Lubbock area, come on. The Elders would love to have you. You're going to love them, no matter what age, from birth, well, from birth to death, somewhere in between there. You're always welcome. And they also, I think, so if you need to locate a Blair Chiropractic doctor, you can actually click there, and there's also a form there, so they'll help you find one in your area. Let me stop sharing on the screen there. Also, the next time I'd like to talk to you, I'd love to bring you and Dr. Anita back both together, and let's talk about what you do and how it will help concussions, traumatic brain injury, possibly ADD, ADHD, PTSD, and especially and shockingly, because I was talking to your wife the other day, addictions, even to opioids.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that.
So we can, he can really definitely help you out with that as well. I'm going to throw this back to 1 minute between Dr. Anita and Dr. Gordon for last comments, and we'll wrap this up.
So, Dr. Elder, I was just wanted to say, how do people know that they're using the Blair technique? As I was doing a quick scan of the Denver area, if there's any Blair chiropractors, because let's just say that people in this profession have a bit of personal prowess, let's just say, and that if you have a particular technique, in other words, are you a cracking chiropractor? Are you a actuator? What do you use for your mechanical treatment, right? Are you a doctor who works with pharmaceuticals? Are you a doctor who really looks at, let's look at this nutritionally. There's so many flavors of what we do on the plate, and people have a hard time, even with just looking at a website, finding out who does what they're looking for. So I have to say this, as a client of yours, and as an individual person on the planet, I think that getting people to understand that we work for them and that we want to provide what they're looking for. Do not be afraid. And I would say this is one of the things that I do with all my people of my world, is that, you need to tell them what you're looking for, and empowering people to take ownership of their current situation.
Right.
And to come in and communicate to you what's going on with them, because really the patient really is the best doctor in a lot of cases, because they can tell you what's going on if they're in tune. Instead of walking in and saying, "Hey, Dr. Alder, can you fix me?" That's a good question, right? The question is does the patient want to be well?
Right. And what does that mean? And many times, in fact, I asked my brother, super intelligent guy, graduated from Yale. And one time I just wanted to see what he'd say. And I said, "Hey, what is health? What is health to you?" And he said, "Well, it's feeling good." And that's really, when you don't have a problem, when you're healthy, that's kind of the answer you come up with, right? Because nothing's wrong. So I'm healthy. I must be healthy. And wellness is so much more than that. And people walk in my office, they've already got a problem because they're coming in because they have a symptom. And so they know they've got a problem. Now they don't necessarily know what that symptom's coming from, and they want that symptom to go away. And I want that symptom to go away, but I don't treat that symptom. I want to find out what's going on with the body and help it fix that symptom.
Right.
But that's something that people need to take control of their life, is that the doctors, myself, medical doctors, any doctor, however good or bad, they're not in control of your health. They can offer you something. It's up to you to decide, is this really what I need? Does this really make sense? If patients that come in and just say, "Do whatever you need to do, doc," I'm not really happy with that. I want them to take control of their life, to understand what I'm doing, to be on board. If they're not on board, find someone else.
And I think it was good that you did a quick little scan of looking for Blair chiropractors in your area, up in the Denver area. And there may be chiropractors out there that are like upper cervical, but that does not necessarily mean that they are a Blair chiropractor. And so that's why I'm glad that I showed on the website how to locate a doctor, and you do know the one that is instructing them now, or at least one of them that's doing the instruction.
There's about 7 different, well, there's probably more than that, but there's about 7 different main upper cervical techniques, and those are all excellent techniques. The Blair is the one that makes the most sense to me, because it's the one that really takes into account that people are made different on the right and the left, whereas most of the others are still trying to make things straight. But if somebody calls me and wants me to find a chiropractor for them in their area and there's no Blair chiropractor, I'm looking for another upper cervical doctor. Bearing that, there's a lot of other good chiropractors out there. I just not going to necessarily know them. If I know what, if a doctor says they do the NUCA upper cervical technique, I know what that means. So what I would suggest is, if you don't find a Blair doctor in your area, call the nearest Blair doctor who's not in your area and ask him if he knows of a Blair doctor in your area. and then ask if he knows of any other upper cervical doctors that are high quality in their area.
Yeah, that does
And you
make
do take
sense.
patients from out of town, correct, Dr. Elder?
I'm
Say
sorry?
again, Anita. I overspoke you. Say again, please.
I said, yeah, you do accept patients if they want to come and see you from anywhere.
Yes, we got a call from Houston yesterday. I've had people from New Mexico. I've had people from all over.
It would be
So-
well worth the trip. And his wife, her testimony will be on a separate video on YouTube. So watch for that for Ruth Elder. And we're gonna have you back. I think people
Great.
need different types of solutions, and especially when we're talking about, you know, neurological issues and traumatic brain injury and addictions and that type of thing. If you will come back.
Absolutely. Just tell me when.
Absolutely. All righty. Thank you so much. And go to his website, look for Locate a Doctor. And if you are a doctor that is looking into this, I am sure Dr. Gordon Elder would be happy to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Wasn't that interesting? Thank you so much for co-hosting Dr. Anita Corrigan. And she will be back because we have many more solutions that you have never heard about, and you are going to want to incorporate these things into your life. But let me tell you how to keep up with us. You want to be in the know, so click like, click share, because this is great information. You want other people to know about it, and it helps reach more people and help them. But definitely, here's the main thing. Click subscribe. What do you do after you click subscribe? You click the bell. And there's actually one more thing that people miss. After clicking the bell, click on it again and click at the top option that says click all. So that way you will receive all notifications, and especially when we go live, we'll have a Q&A and you can take part in that. Thanks so much for joining. Watch for the next one.